9 shocking archaeological discoveries that still baffle scientists today. Skeletons that lay undisturbed beneath the earth for thousands of years have been uncovered only to leave scientists unable to fully explain them. Ancient tombs that seemed forgotten forever have revealed contents that completely changed what humanity once believed about history. Magnificent structures built thousands of years ago display such astonishing precision that even modern technology struggles to explain how ancient people accomplished such feats. All of this proves one thing. Although science today is more advanced than ever before, many archaeological mysteries still have no definitive answers. And the deeper we explore, the more we realize that history continues to conceal countless secrets waiting to be uncovered. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Ancient History. In today's video, we're going to explore 9 shocking archaeological discoveries from around the world. Discoveries that stunned researchers and captured the attention of millions of history enthusiasts. From a mysterious giant skeleton found deep beneath the waters of the Mediterranean Sea, to a more than 2,000-year-old mummy that reportedly caused experts to develop a strange illness, to ancient tombs filled with priceless treasures and remarkable structures that challenge the understanding of modern science. Each discovery on this list comes with a fascinating story of its own. Some of these mysteries have been partially explained, while others continue to puzzle scientists to this very day. And by the time you finish watching this video, you may realize that history is far from as dull as many people imagine. Because sometimes, the strangest things are not found in legends or movies. They are real events that once existed right here on our planet. So, which discoveries amaze the world and continue to spark debate even today? Join me as we begin this incredible journey of exploration right now. 14 skeletons buried beneath a construction site in China for 4,000 years. You know, archaeology is fascinating. Some discoveries do more than rewrite history, they leave modern people speechless when confronted with them. And the story you're about to hear is one of those discoveries. It began at an ordinary construction site in 1999 in Qinghai Province, China. That day, while excavators were digging for a construction project, workers unexpectedly noticed unusual signs beneath the ground. At first, it was only a few scattered bone fragments, but as the digging continued deeper, the truth became even more shocking. Beneath layers of earth that had remained untouched for thousands of years lay an entire mass burial site. Without hesitation, local residents reported the discovery to the regional archaeological authorities. Within a short time, an archaeological team from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, along with cultural heritage experts, arrived at the site. The area was later identified as the Lajia Archaeological Site, located in Lajia Village, Guanting Town, Minhe County, Qinghai Province, in the upper reaches of China's Yellow River. Covering nearly 99 acres in total, including a core excavation area of about 49 acres, the site was once a Neolithic settlement. What makes it truly remarkable, however, is that it is considered the only archaeological site in China that preserves evidence of a large-scale natural disaster in an almost untouched state. After a careful excavation, archaeologists working at location number 4 uncovered a total of 14 human skeletons. What stood out was that most of them were children and teenagers. The youngest was estimated to have been only about 2 years old. Every skeleton was found in a position suggesting that death came suddenly, leaving no time to react. Some were curled up as if trying to protect themselves. Others lay motionless on their sides. A few appeared frozen in the middle of crawling, as though desperately searching for a way to escape. But among all these heartbreaking scenes, one discovery left the entire archaeological team stunned into silence. A mother was found tightly embracing her young child. Her body leaned toward the child, and her arms were wrapped around the small figure as if, even while the world collapsed around them, she refused to let go. Her head was tilted upward, almost as though she were pleading for one final miracle in the last moments between life and death. No one could find words to describe the scene. It was no longer simply archaeology. It was a story of maternal love frozen in time for 4,000 years. Yet that was not the end of the mystery. When DNA testing was conducted, experts made an even more astonishing discovery. All 14 individuals were biologically related. They were likely members of the same family or a closely connected group of relatives who had all perished in the same catastrophic event. Researchers believe a powerful earthquake struck the settlement around 4,000 years ago, destroying the community in a very short period of time. And it wasn't only human remains that drew attention. Archaeologists also uncovered another sensational find: traces of an ancient bowl of noodles. Analysis revealed that the people who lived there used millet to make a noodle-like food, providing evidence that their food processing techniques were far more advanced than previously believed. This remarkable discovery later helped place the Lajia site among China's 10 most important archaeological discoveries of its time. Looking back at the entire site, what remains most memorable is perhaps not the numbers or the artifacts, but the overwhelming emotion felt when considering the fate of the people who once lived there. People who loved one another, cared for one another, and shared their lives together. Because sometimes history is not written only through victories and inventions. Sometimes it is written through silent moments buried beneath the earth, where a mother continues to hold her child even after the world around them has ceased to exist. What do you think about this discovery? Do you see it the same way, or do you have a different perspective? If so, don't hesitate to leave a comment below and share your thoughts with everyone. 2,000-year-old megastructure longer than the Great Wall of China, yet few Chinese people even know its name. If I told you there is a structure longer than the Great Wall of China, one that has existed for more than 2,000 years and sustained life across one of the harshest regions on Earth, yet remains largely unknown, would you believe me? Probably not, right? But the truth is, this is no legend. It is real, and that reality lies hidden beneath the ground in Xinjiang, China. It is an underground water system known as the Kerez. What's remarkable is that whenever people talk about China's ancient wonders, the Great Wall is almost always the first thing that comes to mind. Yet during roughly the same historical period, another engineering achievement was taking shape, one that was arguably even more practical, quieter in its existence, and no less important. The difference is that it doesn't stand above the ground for tourists to admire. Instead, it lies deep beneath the earth, known by relatively few people and nearly forgotten by the public. To understand why it was built, we need to travel back more than 2,000 years to Xinjiang. This was a land where simply standing under the sun for a few hours was enough to experience its harshness. Rainfall was extremely scarce, the heat was intense, and water evaporated so quickly that the soil often dried before it could absorb enough moisture. The people living there endured chronic water shortages. Crops frequently failed, and famine was a recurring threat. Against this backdrop, historical records indicate that during the reign of Emperor Wu of Han, 156 BC to 87 BC, the emperor recognized the vital importance of water to the region's survival. As a result, he ordered the construction of an underground water diversion system designed to support agriculture and improve the lives of local residents. This marked the beginning of the Kerez system. What makes Kerez so extraordinary is its remarkably intelligent design. Ancient engineers took advantage of the meltwater flowing from the snow-covered mountains of Xinjiang. Rather than allowing the water to run across the surface and evaporate in the intense heat, they dug underground tunnels along the foothills, channeling water from glaciers and snow-fed streams deep beneath the earth. The system was then connected by a series of vertical wells, allowing people to access water directly from below ground. Can you imagine that? The entire network operated naturally, without pumps, without electricity, and without modern technology, yet it was capable of transporting water for thousands of miles beneath the surface. By keeping the water underground, the system greatly reduced evaporation, allowing it to remain cool and stable throughout the year. Once completed, Kerez transformed life in Xinjiang. Areas that had once been dry and barren suddenly had access to irrigation. Crops began to flourish again, and the threat of famine gradually faded. Life was no longer merely about survival. It became a chance to truly live and prosper. Over time, the system was not only maintained, but continuously expanded. Today, the total length of its underground channels is estimated to be about 3,100 miles, making it nearly twice as long as the Great Wall of China. In addition, approximately 1,700 wells were constructed to access and manage the water supply, creating an enormous underground network beneath the region. But why do so few people know about such a massive achievement? The answer is surprisingly simple. It was never built to impress anyone. It was not a fortress. It was not a symbol of political power. It was not designed as a tourist attraction. It had only one purpose: to bring water and life to people. And because of that, it was quietly forgotten by time. Even today, many people in China have never heard of its existence, yet its value has never disappeared. Thanks to the Kharez system, the Turpan region of Xinjiang has become one of the world's major grape-growing areas. The famous grapes and raisins produced there are known for their exceptional sweetness, not only because of the climate, but also because of the cold, pure water flowing from mountain snow, traveling through these ancient tunnels for more than 2,000 years. Isn't that incredible? The joke-telling tomb of the King of Chu that made archaeologists laugh at Lion Mountain in China. The story began in February 1982 in the city of Suzhou, China. At the time, a local resident was quarrying stone in an area southeast of Heping Bridge when he unexpectedly noticed unusual signs beneath the layers of rock and soil. No one could have imagined that beneath a small hill standing about 200 feet high, whose shape resembled a lion and therefore became known as Lion Mountain, a secret had been hidden for thousands of years. As soon as archaeologists received the report, they rushed to the site. After only preliminary surveys, they confirmed that this was no ordinary tomb. Its scale was simply too large. Covering more than 7,500 square feet, it was clearly the burial place of someone of royal status. But what truly astonished everyone was the structure inside. As excavations continued deeper, archaeologists discovered that the entire tomb had been carved directly into the mountain itself, resembling a genuine underground palace. There were not just one or two chambers, but a total of 15 rooms arranged in an almost perfectly symmetrical layout, each serving a specific purpose. Can you imagine that? It was a tomb that contained bedrooms, reception halls, kitchens, and even areas designated for horses. The southern section housed the coffin of the male owner, while the northern section was reserved for the female owner. The front area was arranged as a space for receiving guests and conducting ceremonial offerings. In many ways, it looked far more like an underground palace than a place of eternal rest. After extensive research, experts eventually identified the site as the tomb of Liu Jiao, King Yuan of Chu, the second king of the Chu kingdom and the younger brother of Emperor Gaozu of Han, Liu Bang. Liu Jiao had fought alongside Liu Bang during the wars that unified China and earned numerous achievements. As a reward, he was granted the title of King of Chu and given authority over the region around ancient Suzhou. Yet the detail that makes this story truly unique was not the architecture at all. Instead, it was a surprising discovery found right outside the tomb entrance. During the excavation, archaeologists uncovered an inscribed stone tablet, and when they translated the text, the entire team could not help but laugh. Because instead of leaving behind the solemn words one might expect from a king, King Yuan of Chu had written something that sounded almost like a humorous plea directed at future tomb robbers. The message essentially read, "To the worthy people of future generations, I am the King of Chu, but I swear there are no valuable treasures inside this tomb, only bones. If you have read this far, surely you must feel some sympathy for me. Therefore, please do not waste your effort digging here." At first glance, it sounds like a warning, but the way it was written feels both serious and strangely playful at the same time. It may well be one of the most unusual anti-tomb robbing strategies in Chinese history. Rather than using traps, hidden mechanisms, or decoy tombs like many other rulers, he chose to rely on persuasion. Unfortunately, reality proved far less cooperative. As archaeologists ventured deeper into the tomb, they discovered evidence that grave robbers had already broken in long ago. Many priceless treasures had disappeared centuries earlier, meaning King Yuan of Chu's heartfelt request had done little to stop them. Even so, the excavation produced extraordinary results. More than 100 valuable artifacts were recovered, including bronze chariots, terracotta warriors, official seals, ancient coins, jade jewelry, and even an exquisitely crafted jade suit of armor. It was the combination of a magnificent underground palace, royal heritage, and the king's unexpectedly humorous message that led archaeologists to nickname the site the Pyramid of the East. Because the more they studied this tomb, the more they realized it contained not only remarkable artifacts, but also something much rarer. A glimpse into the very human personality of a king who lived more than 2,000 years ago. Isn't that fascinating? The 2,100-year-old mummy that left an entire archaeological team with a mysterious illness. Have you ever noticed something fascinating about archaeology? Sometimes the discoveries that astonish scientists the most are not gold, jewels, or priceless artifacts, but the people who lived thousands of years before us. After all, time can destroy palaces, rot wood and stone, and erase countless traces of history. Yet every now and then, archaeologists come across a discovery that defies imagination. And the story that unfolded in Hubei Province, China in 1975 is one such example. In the first half of 1975, archaeologists began excavating a Western Han Dynasty tomb at Phoenix Mountain in Jiangling County. At first, it was considered a routine archaeological dig. No one suspected that beneath layers of earth that had remained undisturbed for more than 2 millennia lay a secret that would shock the entire archaeological community. After many days of continuous work, the research team finally reached the main coffin. As with any excavation, everyone eagerly anticipated what the ancients had left behind. But the moment a small gap appeared in the coffin lid, something unusual happened. A powerful foul odor immediately rushed out from inside, so strong that several people instinctively stepped back. Then, an even stranger sight emerged. A mysterious red liquid began flowing out of the coffin, leaving everyone at the site stunned. The archaeologists quickly collected the substance and managed to fill 4 bags with the strange liquid. At that moment, no one realized they were about to witness one of the most memorable archaeological discoveries in Chinese history. When the coffin was finally opened completely, everyone stood frozen in disbelief. Instead of finding a skeleton or a badly decayed body, as is usually the case, they found the remarkably preserved corpse of a man. His skin was still pale. His body remained full and intact. His joints could still be moved. And most astonishingly, his skin retained a surprising degree of elasticity. Although all of his hair was gone, the level of preservation far exceeded anyone's expectations. Just imagine it, a body buried during the Western Han Dynasty that had remained in such condition for more than 2,000 years. And that wasn't all. Inside the deceased man's mouth, archaeologists discovered a milky white jade seal. Engraved on its surface was a single character, Sui. Based on inscriptions found within the tomb, researchers determined that the man belonged to the Sui family, came from Yangli in Jiangling County, and had held the rank of Wu Dafu during his lifetime. He was buried in the 13th year of the reign of Emperor Wen of Han, corresponding to 167 BC. That meant the mummy was more than 2,100 years old, nearly a century older than the famous mummy of Lady Xinjui. However, the excitement surrounding the discovery did not last long before another mystery emerged. Shortly after being exposed to outside air, the body began changing rapidly. Its pale skin gradually darkened. The soft tissues became thinner. Decomposition accelerated at a rate that surprised even experienced specialists. Realizing they were witnessing an exceptionally rare phenomenon, researchers immediately conducted a comprehensive examination. The results amazed the scientific community. The man had died at approximately 60 years of age. He weighed about 116 pounds and stood roughly 5 feet 6 inches tall. All 32 of his teeth remained intact. His respiratory tract showed no signs of blockage. His brain still occupied nearly 4/5 of the cranial cavity and weighed approximately 34 ounces. Blood vessels within the meninges were still clearly visible, and nearly all 12 pairs of cranial nerves could still be identified. Remarkably, specialists were even able to determine that he had type AB blood. These findings provided invaluable information, helping researchers gain a deeper understanding of the human body during the Western Han Dynasty more than 2,000 years ago. Yet while scientists were celebrating their extraordinary findings, something strange began happening. Xia Xiangjun and Chen Yang, 2 experts who had participated directly in the excavation, suddenly became ill. Large, unusual boils appeared on their bodies. Despite receiving medical treatment, doctors were initially unable to determine the cause. Even more alarming, other members of the excavation team soon began developing similar symptoms. As news spread, local residents became increasingly concerned. Many people believed the archaeologists had disturbed something forbidden and were suffering from a curse connected to the ancient tomb. But scientists refused to accept that explanation. Instead, they set out to uncover the real cause. After extensive investigations and analysis, the truth finally emerged. The illness had nothing to do with a curse. Ironically, it was linked to the very method that had preserved the mummy for more than 2,100 years. Ancient embalmers had immersed the body in a solution containing mercury sulfide, a substance capable of killing bacteria and significantly slowing decomposition. Thanks to this preservation method, the corpse had remained in an almost perfect state for more than 2 millennia. The skeleton of Chinese emperor was still clutching a mysterious object. In the history of China's Qing dynasty, the Guangxu emperor was perhaps one of the most remarkable rulers to experience such a fate. He was the son of heaven, the man regarded as the ruler of a vast empire. Yet for most of his life, he was unable to control even his own destiny. Ascending the throne at just 3 years old, Guangxu grew up under the overwhelming shadow of Empress Dowager Cixi. Virtually all important power within the imperial court remained firmly in her hands. Although he repeatedly sought to reform the Qing dynasty and rescue it from crisis, he was never able to overcome the forces that controlled him. The turning point came after the failure of the 100 Days Reform in 1898. Guangxu was placed under house arrest. From being an emperor, he became a man living under constant surveillance and severe restrictions within his own palace. The final years of his life were marked by loneliness, helplessness, and tragedy. Even today, his death remains one of the most controversial mysteries in Chinese history, as substantial evidence suggests that he may have been poisoned. After his death, Guangxu was buried in Chongling Mausoleum within the Western Qing tombs, one of the most famous imperial burial complexes of the Qing dynasty. Although it was not as lavish as the tomb of Empress Dowager Cixi, Chongling was still constructed according to imperial standards, featuring grand and impressive architecture. But even after death, it seems he was never truly allowed to rest in peace. In 1938, tomb robbers broke into Chongling Mausoleum. Many priceless treasures were stolen, making it the only imperial tomb in the Western Qing Tombs complex to suffer such severe losses from grave robbers. Several decades later, archaeologists conducted a rescue excavation at Chongling in an effort to preserve whatever remained. When the excavation began, many hoped to uncover valuable artifacts from the Qing dynasty. But when the tomb chambers were finally opened, the reality before them was deeply disappointing. The interior was almost empty. The robbers had taken most of the treasures long ago. Everywhere were signs of digging and destruction. The entire mausoleum carried an overwhelming sense of emptiness, almost mirroring the fate of the emperor resting within it. However, while examining Guangxu's remains, archaeologists noticed an unexpected detail that immediately captured everyone's attention. The emperor's hands were still tightly gripping something. At first, no one knew what it was. Experts carefully opened the fingers that had remained closed for decades, and little by little, the secret was revealed. In Guangxu's left hand was an exquisitely crafted pair of jadeite bracelets. In his right hand was a precious piece of Hidian jade. At that moment, many people present at the site found themselves deeply moved. These were not objects the emperor could have held during his lifetime. Researchers believe they were most likely placed in his hands during the burial ceremony. Perhaps they were the final gifts from those who still mourned this unfortunate emperor, a last attempt to offer him some comfort after a life filled with suffering. But the story did not end there. While moving the coffin aside to continue their investigation, archaeologists made another surprising discovery. Beneath it was a hidden golden well. Inside were numerous valuable treasures that had escaped the notice of the tomb robbers. These artifacts were more than objects of material value. To archaeologists, they were historical evidence reflecting the respect and reverence people held for Guangxu after his death. The more experts studied the tomb, the more clearly they felt the tragedy of a ruler who had once tried to change the fate of his nation, yet could never control the fate of his own life. And perhaps the most emotional part of the story is not the number of treasures that remained hidden within the mausoleum. Instead, it is the image of a lonely emperor lying beneath the earth, his hands still tightly holding the final gifts that had been entrusted to him. In a life marked by loss, restriction, and constant control, those objects seem to have been among the very few things that truly belonged to him. And that perhaps is what makes this discovery so profoundly moving. The disturbing secret inside a 1,400-year-old Chinese tomb that terrified experts. Did you know that many of the world's most famous archaeological discoveries actually began as nothing more than local legends? Some stories are passed down from one generation to the next. Those who tell them believe them, while those who hear them remain skeptical. Yet sometimes these seemingly baseless rumors lead archaeologists to discoveries that completely change our understanding of history. A powerful example of this comes from a small village in Taiyuan City, Shanxi Province, China. The village was called Wangjiafeng. On the eastern side of the village stood a low earthen mound that had sat quietly for centuries. From the outside, it looked no different from any ordinary hill in the countryside. But to the local residents, it carried a very special name, Wang Mupo, or the King's Tomb Slope. The village elders often told stories that beneath the mound lay the tomb of an important nobleman who had lived more than 1,000 years ago. No one knew where the story originated, and nobody had ever seen any evidence to support it. Yet for generations, the villagers continued to treat the site with a certain level of respect. Then one quiet night, everything suddenly changed. A loud explosion shattered the silence, waking many residents from their sleep. Carrying flashlights, people rushed toward the source of the sound and were met with a disturbing sight. Part of the mound had been blasted open, revealing a deep, dark hole leading far beneath the earth. At that moment, many villagers remembered seeing suspicious strangers wandering around the area in the weeks before the incident. It wasn't difficult to guess what had happened. Most likely, tomb robbers had attempted to break into whatever was hidden below. The incident was quickly reported to local authorities, and archaeologists soon arrived to investigate. After an initial examination, experts realized this was no ordinary hole in the ground. It appeared to lead into a large ancient structure buried deep underground. However, it would take years of research before scholars could confirm the truth. The site was eventually identified as the tomb of Shu Xianxiu, a high-ranking official who lived during the Northern Qi dynasty. Located in Taiyuan, Shanxi Province, the tomb was built around AD 571, meaning it had remained hidden for more than 1,400 years. Yet the reason the site became famous was due to an unusual incident that occurred during the early stages of the investigation. According to accounts that later circulated, one expert descended into the tomb alone to inspect the interior. The passageway was narrow, deep, and extremely dark, creating an unusually oppressive atmosphere. The farther he descended, the colder and more unsettling the environment felt. Just imagine standing alone inside a tomb that had been sealed for more than a millennium, surrounded by complete darkness and absolute silence. What would that feel like? Then, just as the expert raised his flashlight to get a better look, the light suddenly went out. In an instant, darkness swallowed everything. And in that darkness, he thought he saw countless human-like figures standing motionless on both sides of the tomb. The shadowy forms appeared to stretch throughout the burial chamber, creating the eerie sensation that hundreds of silent people were watching the newcomer. Startled by the sight and trapped within the darkness of the enclosed space, the expert immediately turned around and rushed back outside. Before long, the story spread throughout the region. Rumors quickly began to grow. Some believed the tomb was haunted. Others claimed that its long-dead owner did not want to be disturbed after more than 1,000 years of rest. But when archaeologists conducted a more thorough investigation, the truth turned out to be far less supernatural. The flashlight had simply malfunctioned because of an unstable power source, and the terrifying people inside the tomb were actually something far more extraordinary. Once proper lighting was restored, archaeologists discovered that both sides of the entrance corridor and nearly every interior wall were covered with enormous murals. The painted figures were almost life-sized. Their facial expressions were vivid, and the artistic skill displayed in the paintings was astonishing. Under poor lighting conditions, it was easy to understand why they appeared to be real people standing silently inside the tomb. And that wasn't all. Experts found that the tomb preserved more than 3,200 square feet of murals containing more than 200 different figures. The paintings vividly depict the lives of Northern Qi aristocrats, including ceremonial rituals, banquets, horse-drawn processions, honor guards, mythical creatures, and grand official journeys. Each mural serves as a window into a world that existed more than 1,400 years ago, allowing us to visualize the culture, music, clothing, social order, and daily life of a civilization long since gone. The importance of the discovery was so great that the Taiyuan Northern Qi Mural Museum was built directly at the archaeological site and officially opened in December 2023 to preserve these priceless works of art. What makes the story especially fascinating is that the very thing that once frightened local residents ultimately became one of the most significant artistic discoveries in Chinese archaeology. Experts now regard the tomb of Shu Xianxu as one of the finest surviving examples of Northern Qi mural art and have even praised it as a masterpiece of Chinese art history. And perhaps the most memorable moment in this entire story remains that instant when the flashlight suddenly went dark deep beneath the earth. Because when the light disappeared, people saw terrifying figures standing in the shadows. But when the light returned, what emerged was not a supernatural mystery at all. It was an entire world of art that had slept beneath the ground for more than 1,400 years. The giant, 100-foot skeleton found beneath the Mediterranean Sea. The story began when a group of workers in the oil and gas industry were conducting an underwater survey using a remotely operated vehicle, commonly known as an ROV. While observing the seafloor at a depth of approximately 2,720 feet below sea level, the vehicle's camera suddenly captured something that immediately drew everyone's attention. Lying amid the dark mud on the ocean floor was a gigantic skeleton that appeared to be almost completely intact. From the very first images, it was obvious that this was no ordinary discovery. The skeleton stretched nearly 100 feet in length. Its vertebrae formed a long continuous chain, while one end featured larger bone-like structures resembling a skull or the head of some enormous creature. However, what astonished researchers was not merely its massive size. The real mystery was that the skeleton's shape did not resemble any known marine animal recorded in the region. When the footage was sent to researcher of unexplained phenomena, Deborah Hatswell, she became immediately fascinated. After reviewing the video frame by frame multiple times, Hatswell still could not determine exactly what she was looking at. Eventually, she decided to upload the footage to her YouTube channel in the hope that the international research community might help solve the mystery. According to Hatswell, the workers discovered the skeleton while surveying the seafloor with the ROV. At first, she considered the possibility that it might be the remains of a whale. However, after comparing the skeletal structure, that theory was quickly dismissed. The reason was simple. A whale's vertebrae typically have three distinctive projections, spaced approximately 120 degrees apart. The specimen on the seafloor, however, appeared to possess only two similar structures. This difference prevented experts from classifying it as any known species of whale. Another theory suggested that it could belong to a giant oarfish, currently the longest bony fish in the world. But that explanation also faced a major problem. Even the largest known oarfish reached lengths of only about 36 feet. The mysterious skeleton appeared to be nearly 3 times that size. The more researchers examined the evidence, the more difficult the mystery became to explain. Divers involved in the survey reported that they believed the skeleton had been lying on the seafloor for a very long time, possibly more than 1,000 years. What first attracted their attention were several protruding structures resembling tusks or bone segments emerging from the thick layer of mud. In the footage, the ROV operator attempted to use the vehicle's robotic arm to collect samples for analysis. But the moment the arm touched the remains, the material immediately crumbled apart. The fragments were so brittle that obtaining an intact sample proved nearly impossible. This detail only deepened the mystery surrounding the skeleton's true age. While researchers continue searching for answers, the internet has generated countless theories of its own. One of the most frequently discussed suggestions is that the remains could belong to a Tylosaurus, a gigantic marine reptile that dominated the oceans during the late Cretaceous period, approximately 75 to 86.5 million years ago. At first glance, the idea seems plausible. Tylosaurus was indeed a massive and fearsome predator. However, that theory also faces a significant challenge. If the remains truly dated back tens of millions of years, most of the bones would likely have survived only in fossilized form. The apparent presence of bone-like structures in the video has prevented many scientists from reaching a definitive conclusion. To this day, the true identity of the 100-foot-long skeleton resting on the floor of the Mediterranean Sea remains an unanswered question. Yet mysteries like this are precisely what make exploring the natural world so fascinating. Because sometimes, even in an age of advanced technology, the depths of the ocean still conceal secrets capable of leaving the scientific community puzzled, intrigued, and searching for answers. The 1,200-year-old well, with 3,500 mysterious steps in India. Have you ever wondered how people survived in arid regions long before the invention of water pumps, pipelines, and the modern technologies we rely on today? If that question sparks your curiosity, then the story of an ancient structure in India may completely change the way you view the ingenuity of our ancestors. Why? Because more than 1,200 years ago, while many parts of the world were still relying on relatively simple methods of storing water, the people of Rajasthan built a structure that served not only as a vital water source, but also as an architectural masterpiece that continues to amaze modern researchers. That structure is known as Chand Baori, often referred to by its poetic nickname, the Moon Well. Located in the state of Rajasthan in western India, Chand Baori was built sometime between the 8th and 9th centuries during the reign of King Chanda of the Nikumba dynasty. More than 1,000 years later, it still stands as a remarkable testament to the intelligence and engineering skills of ancient builders. What makes Chand Baori especially fascinating is that, when viewed from above, it looks nothing like the ordinary wells most of us imagine. Instead, it resembles a gigantic geometric labyrinth made up of thousands of perfectly arranged stone steps. If you stand at the top and look down, you will see countless straight lines, sharp angles, and stairways interwoven in a precise zigzag pattern. The result is a breathtaking sight that is both beautiful and overwhelming. According to historical records and modern research, Chand Baori has a square design featuring approximately 3,500 steps spread across 13 levels and descending nearly 100 feet into the ground. 3 sides of the well are completely covered with symmetrical staircases. Each row of stone is arranged with such precision that many people find it hard to believe the structure was built more than 1,000 years ago. The 4th side features an intricately designed temple complex. Although it is not particularly massive or extravagant, the carvings and architectural details demonstrate the advanced craftsmanship of the period. Some historical sources even suggest that the area once served as a royal retreat during the scorching summer months. But Chand Baori is much more than a beautiful structure. To truly understand its significance, we need to look back at the environmental conditions of Rajasthan more than 1,000 years ago. This region was, and still is, one of the driest areas in India. Long periods of intense heat, limited rainfall, and chronic water shortages made access to water a matter of survival. As a result, finding effective ways to store water became one of the most important challenges facing local communities. Chand Baori emerged as a brilliant solution. The structure functioned like a massive underground reservoir. It collected rainwater from the surface while also accessing groundwater from below. Thanks to its deep staircase system, people could reach the water regardless of seasonal fluctuations in water levels. For centuries, Chand Baori supplied precious water to thousands of residents living in the surrounding area. Its role as a water source gradually came to an end only after modern water distribution systems were introduced. Today, the water inside the well no longer meets modern sanitation standards for daily use. However, that has done nothing to diminish its appeal. Every year, thousands of international visitors travel to Rajasthan to see this extraordinary architectural wonder with their own eyes. There is another fascinating aspect to Chand Baori as well. Local residents often compare it to a giant natural air conditioner. The reason is that temperatures at the bottom of the well are typically about 9 to 11 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than at ground level. During the hottest summer days, it served as a popular gathering place where people could escape the heat. The more researchers study Chand Baori, the more amazed they become by the skill of the people who designed it. After all, creating thousands of symmetrical steps, ensuring structural stability, and maintaining a functioning water storage system for more than a millennium is no simple achievement. Many experts believe Chand Baori stands as clear evidence of the advanced mathematical knowledge and engineering capabilities of ancient Indian civilization. It also strengthens the view that, alongside ancient Egypt, India was one of the world's most important centers for the development of mathematics and science. Yet not everyone believes this incredible structure was built solely through human effort. Even today, the people of Rajasthan continue to share a colorful local legend. According to the story, King Chanda received help from divine beings, and the entire Chand Baori well was constructed in a single night. Of course, that is only a legend, but perhaps the sheer magnificence of the structure makes it understandable why some people find it difficult to believe that humans living more than 1,200 years ago could have created something so extraordinary without a touch of magic. So what do you think? Do you believe the legend, or do you have another explanation? If so, don't hesitate to leave a comment below and share your thoughts with everyone. Ancient warrior's tomb reveals a golden treasure that shocked archaeologists. The discovery was announced on August 24, 2024, when Ancient Origins reported on a remarkable archaeological find in the village of Kapitan Petko Voivoda, near the city of Topolovgrad in Bulgaria. There, archaeologists uncovered an ancient tomb belonging to a Thracian warrior who lived during the early 1st century AD, a period when the Roman Empire was expanding its influence across Europe. From the very first artifacts that emerged from the soil, researchers realized that the owner of this tomb was no ordinary individual. Buried alongside the skeletal remains was a dazzling collection of golden treasures. Among the discoveries were an exquisite gold necklace, a finely crafted gold crown, a gold ring, and several other valuable objects. Most remarkable of all was a hunting knife with a handle decorated with gold and semi-precious stones, making it an especially beautiful and unique artifact. You know, more than 2,000 years ago, not just anyone could own such luxurious possessions. For that reason alone, the artifacts found within the tomb clearly suggest that its owner once held a very high social status. What makes the discovery even more fascinating is that it was not the result of months of difficult searching. According to officials from the municipality of Topolovgrad, the archaeological team uncovered the treasure on just the second day of excavation. In many ways, archaeology is like a conversation with the past. Some secrets take decades to uncover, while others seem eager to tell their stories. The excavation was led by archaeologist Daniela Agre of the National Archaeological Institute and Museum of the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. As layer after layer of soil was carefully removed, more artifacts appeared, allowing experts to paint an increasingly detailed picture of the individual buried within the tomb. In addition to the gold jewelry, researchers discovered several weapons and a remarkably well-preserved breastplate. These artifacts revealed that the deceased was a genuine warrior, but not merely an ordinary soldier. According to experts, he was most likely a cavalryman from the noble class, or perhaps a member of a wealthy and influential Thracian family. Another discovery provided even stronger support for this theory. Beside the warrior's remains, archaeologists also found the remains of a horse that had been buried alongside its owner. In many ancient cultures, burying a horse with the deceased was a privilege reserved only for individuals of high status or exceptionally respected warriors. This suggests that the owner of the tomb was a person of great importance during his lifetime. Dear friends, after exploring these incredible discoveries, we can see that history still holds countless secrets hidden deep beneath the earth, resting on the ocean floor or concealed within ancient structures that once seemed forgotten by time. Every skeleton, every tomb, and every artifact that is uncovered serves as another piece of the puzzle, helping us better understand the past. Yet at the same time, each discovery raises new questions that science still cannot fully answer. So, what about you? Which discovery in today's list impressed you the most? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to follow the channel so we can continue exploring more fascinating historical mysteries together in future videos. Simply subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming adventures into the past. For now, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.